There's this thing that happens when you're a teenager where everyone around you is obsessed with your future, but nobody actually prepares you for it. Your teachers are focused on exams. Your parents are focused on grades. Society hands you one narrow script. Study hard, get good grades, go to university, get a job, and somehow everything works out. You follow it. Because what else are you supposed to do? Nobody gave you a different map. And here's the part nobody tells you. The adults who wish they had done something differently aren't wishing they studied harder or got better grades. They're wishing they had built certain skills earlier. Skills not on any curriculum. Skills that don't show up on an exam. But skills that quietly decide, over years and decades, what kind of life you end up living. So this video is for you. If you're between 13 and 18 and you actually want to do something with your life, not just drift through it, these are 6 habits that will shape everything. Not tomorrow, not next year, over time, in ways that only become visible in hindsight, but they start now. Let's get into it. Habit number 1. Train your attention like it's a muscle. Here's something nobody tells you. Your attention is the most valuable thing you own. More valuable than your time. More valuable than your money. Because wherever your attention goes, your energy goes. And wherever your energy goes, your life follows. Every app on your phone was built by engineers whose entire job was to make it impossible to put down. Every notification, every autoplay, every endless scroll, engineered to capture your attention and keep it. And it's working. The average attention span has dropped dramatically in the last decade, and the people hit hardest are the ones who grew up with smartphones in their hands. What this means for you is that the ability to focus deeply, to sit with something hard, and stay with it even when it gets boring or difficult, is becoming one of the rarest skills on the planet, which means it's becoming one of the most valuable. Every day, pick one thing that requires your full attention. Homework, a book, a project, anything. Set a timer for 25 minutes. Put your phone in a different room, not face down on your desk, a different room. Work. When your mind wanders, notice it and bring it back. That's the whole practice. The wandering isn't failure. The returning is the training. Start with 25 minutes, build to 45, then an hour. You will be genuinely amazed at what you can produce when your full attention is actually on the thing you're doing. And you will be ahead of almost every person your age simply because most of them can no longer do this. Habit number 2, learn how to actually learn. This sounds obvious. You're in school, you're learning things every day, but how much of what you studied last semester do you actually remember right now? Not the general topic, specific things. Details, concepts. If you're like most students, the answer is not much. You learned it for the test and then it faded. That's not your fault. That's because nobody taught you how memory actually works. Your brain does not remember things it passively receives. It remembers things it actively works to retrieve. This is called active recall, the single most effective learning technique research has found, and almost nobody uses it. Instead of rereading your notes before a test, close them and try to write down everything you remember from scratch. Instead of highlighting passages in a textbook, read a section and then look away and summarize it in your own words. Instead of watching a tutorial twice, watch it once and then try to do the thing yourself from memory. This feels harder than normal studying. It is harder. That difficulty is exactly why it works. Your brain builds stronger memories through struggle. The struggle isn't a sign you don't know it. It's the process of knowing it being installed. Pair this with spaced repetition. Spread your review out instead of cramming. Study something today, revisit it in 2 days, then 5 days later, then 2 weeks later. This is how you move things from short-term to long-term memory. This is how you actually keep what you learn. Use these 2 techniques and school gets easier almost immediately. More importantly, you will know how to learn anything on your own for the rest of your life. And in a world that keeps changing faster every year, that skill is worth more than any specific subject you could ever study. Habit number 3, practice talking to people who intimidate you. Most teenagers are fine talking to their friends, but put them in a room with someone older, someone accomplished, someone they respect, and they completely shut down. One-word answers, nervous laughter, waiting for it to be over. And I get it. It feels like there's an enormous gap between you and someone who's 30 or 40 and has actually done things. You feel like you have nothing to offer. Like you'll say something stupid, like you're wasting their time. The people who are actually good at what they do are not waiting to judge you. They're just people, and most of them genuinely enjoy talking to younger people who are curious and ask real questions. Not because it makes them feel important, because most people spend most of their time being half listened to. Someone who actually pays attention is rare, and people notice it. The skill is this: be genuinely curious. Ask a real question, not a polite surface question, but something you actually want to know the answer to. And then listen, not while composing what you're going to say next. Actually listen. Let their answer land before you respond. You don't need a clever opener. The simplest thing works. I've been thinking about what you said. Can I ask you more about it? Most people will say yes, and the ones who don't aren't worth your time anyway. Do this once a week. One real conversation with someone you'd normally avoid because they seem too accomplished or too busy. Do this for 6 months, and your entire sense of what's possible will change. Habit number 4. Start creating something, anything. I know what you're probably thinking. This isn't for me. I'm not an influencer. I don't want to be famous. I'm not a filmmaker or a writer or someone with a brand. I just want to live my life. I'm not asking you to become any of those things. I'm asking you to understand something about the world you're about to enter. The way opportunities work has changed. It used to be that you got a job because you sent in the right application. That still happens. But increasingly, the people who get the best opportunities are the ones who have already demonstrated something, who have made something that exists in the world and that someone can look at and say, this person is worth knowing. This doesn't have to be public. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be for an audience. It just has to exist. A blog nobody reads where you write about what you're learning. A YouTube channel with 6 subscribers where you explain things you find interesting. A GitHub with projects you're building for yourself. A newsletter you send to 12 people. Creating forces you to think clearly. It forces you to understand things well enough to explain them. It builds a record of who you are and how your mind works. And it compounds over time in a way nothing else does. Start with whatever format feels least terrifying. Write something. Build something. Record something. Put it somewhere. It will be bad at first. Everything is. That's not a reason not to start. It's the reason you have to start now, so that by the time it matters, you've already gone through the bad phase. Habit number 5. Learn to say what you actually mean. There is a version of almost every teenager, and honestly most adults too, that goes through life never quite saying what they actually mean. They're uncomfortable, they don't say so. They're hurt, they don't say so. Someone treats them badly, and they swallow it. On the surface, this looks like being easygoing, not wanting to cause drama. But what it actually is a slow accumulation of things you never said. That accumulation becomes resentment. It becomes relationships where you're playing a version of yourself that isn't quite real. A life where you keep ending up in situations you didn't choose because you never spoke up. The skill I'm describing is not about being aggressive or confrontational. It's about being honest in the moments when honesty is uncomfortable. A friend does something that bothers you. You say, "Hey, when you do that, it affects me this way. Can we talk about it?" Not an attack, not a passive-aggressive comment. Just a direct, calm, specific statement about your experience. You want something, an opportunity, an answer, help with something. You ask for it directly instead of hinting and hoping. Someone gives you feedback you disagree with. You say, "I hear you, but I see it differently, and here's why." This feels uncomfortable the first several times. It will feel like you're being rude or making things weird. You're not. You're just communicating like an adult. And once you get used to it, your relationships become more honest, your boundaries become clearer, and you stop wasting years in situations that one honest conversation could have resolved. Habit number 6. Learn to be alone with your own mind. This is the last habit, and it might be the most important and the hardest, because it requires something that almost no one your age is practicing: doing nothing, not scrolling, not listening to something, not watching something, just being alone with your thoughts. Letting your mind go wherever it goes without immediately filling the silence with input. When was the last time that happened for you? Genuinely. Not the few seconds between putting one thing down and picking something else up. Really sitting with your own thoughts for more than a minute. If you're like most people, the honest answer is, I don't know, maybe never. Because the moment there's silence, the phone is there. The moment there's boredom, there's something to watch. There is a voice inside you, a quiet one, that knows things. It knows what you actually care about, underneath all the noise of what you're supposed to care about. It knows when something is wrong, even when you can't articulate why. It knows what you actually want, as opposed to what looks good to others. But that voice is quiet. It only speaks in silence. And if you never practice silence, you lose access to it. You start making decisions based on what the people around you think, what the algorithm shows you, what seems impressive. You stop knowing what you actually want because you've never given yourself the space to find out. The practice is simple. Go for a walk without headphones. Sit without your phone for 15 minutes. Let yourself be bored. Let your mind wander. It will feel restless at first. That's withdrawal. Push through it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is something that most people your age have genuinely never experienced. Knowing what you actually think. Not what you absorbed from the people around you. Not what the algorithm suggested you care about. What you actually think, feel, and want. Not the version of you that exists in relation to everyone else's opinions. And that self-knowledge, the ability to sit with yourself, to know your own mind, to make decisions from the inside out instead of the outside in, that is the foundation that every other habit on this list gets built on. Because you can learn every skill in the world, but if you don't know who you are or what you actually want, you'll spend your life building something that doesn't belong to you. Being a teenager feels like a waiting room, like real life hasn't started yet, like you're just getting through this phase before the actual thing begins. I understand why it feels that way, because most of the systems around you treat it that way. But the person you're becoming right now, through the small decisions you make every day, through the habits you build or don't build, that person is not a rough draft. That person is the foundation, and everything you will ever do gets built on top of what you build right now. These 6 habits are not complicated. They don't require money or connections or special circumstances. They just require a decision to take the next few years seriously in a way that most people your age won't. Not because you're better than them, just because you're choosing to pay attention. Pick one habit, the one that speaks most to where you are right now. Start today. Not tomorrow, not after exams. Today. One habit, 30 days of actually doing it, then the next one. The distance between who you are now and who you could be is not as far as it feels. Just a series of small decisions made consistently over time. And you already made one of them by watching this all the way to the end.